Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review. Finally watched 2024's Civil War. Let's talk about it. When this was coming out in 2024, it was on top of my list. I think it played in Kenai for about a week. Didn't get a chance to see it. Was going to pick it up on Blu-ray. Eventually got a 4K on sale and finally watching it now 2 years after its release. Sorry. Should have been in my last year's top. It is a great video transfer and a reference quality Dolby Atmos soundtrack. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way. $50 million budget. That's a modest budget by today's standards. Went on to make $127 million. So a hit, but not a huge hit. And this is not a movie that requires a sequel or anything else. Alex Garland doesn't do that kind of stuff. This is an Alex Garland film, and as far as I'm concerned, he redeems himself after Men, one of his only things that he's touched that I just didn't appreciate. I just thought it was flawed from beginning to end and just went too far and didn't kind of beat you over the head with the point. And I don't know what he was thinking because I like every other thing he's touched. Civil War is a dystopian science fiction futuristic story that takes place tomorrow about a group of photojournalists who are trying to make it to Washington, D.C. during American Civil War. They want to talk to the president. He hasn't given a real interview in a couple of years, and they want to do it because they know the time is short. The Western forces are winning. Now, I saw some complaints when this movie came out, and I tried to stay spoiler-free, and I remarkably did for 2 years. Watched this the other night, not knowing how it ended or what happened. In modern times, that's amazing. But anyway, I did read some reviews, non-spoiler reviews, where people were complaining that they didn't get into the Civil War. I agree that calling the movie Civil War opens you up to that criticism, but the movie is not about the Civil War. That is the background. That is what the characters are going through that shows us who these characters are. It's about the four photojournalists in the movie. Well, you have a photojournalist, Kristen Dunst, who I think does an amazing job. This is one of her best roles. Forgetting the name of the gentleman who was her interviewer, Wagner Moura. He's got an Academy Award nomination, so I'm not saying anything about it. He's an incredible actor. Stephen Henderson is in this. Nick Offerman is in this. Kaylee Spaney is in this. Really good cast. So anyway, Kristen Dunst plays a road-worthy, hardened war photographer. She is a photojournalist because all she wants to do is tell the truth through pictures. It's not up to her on who's right or wrong, which side is winning or losing. She just snaps the photo, and that's what happened, and that's how her character starts. Then she meets this young, energetic, very young woman who wants to be a photojournalist, and it's the typical, get away from me, kid, you're not ready for this. Then her partner is going to interview the president, so he's driving, and he's more the interviewer journalist. And then they run into the Stephen Henderson character. He is an older journalist who's basically on his way out, but he's covering this as well, and maybe he's a little too old to be involved in this, right? And the four of them are driving a van that's clearly marked press through parts of the United States to get from New York to Washington, D.C., going a roundabout way through West Virginia and stuff because of how things are falling. Now, we pick up snippets of what's going on with the Civil War. Several states have seceded and are fighting against because they don't like what the government's been doing, but that's about as far as it goes. You mentioned some names, and you're wondering, how did California, Texas, and Florida all get together? But that's not what's important. This is the background. It's like those World War II movies where they really didn't get into why World War II started or why it was going to end or who signed whatever peace accord. It was about the dudes in the trench and what they were talking about and doing and how they dealt with the critical situation they were in. Well, that's what this movie is about. It's about the four journalists in this ride and what they see going across America. The movie is not that long. It was about an hour and 45 minutes. I thought it was perfect run length. The special effects are incredible considering it was filmed mostly around Atlanta. It looks like it's New York and Washington, and it didn't look like Atlanta. I had actually had a conversation with one of my former teachers. We were talking about movies filmed in Atlanta, like Baby Driver. Baby Driver, the whole movie looks like Atlanta. You can pick out, oh, that's the Peachtree Tower. That's this, that's this. But this movie was filmed in Atlanta. There was a scene with a down helicopter filmed in a shopping mall that I worked with in when I was in high school. I couldn't tell what shopping mall it was. So they did a pretty good job with what little special effects they did. There is a 6-part, hour-long documentary on the 4K that gets into the making of the film. I wish everybody would do that. Stop giving me the little 6-minute little makings of. Put them all together in one thing. It worked like chapters, and you could watch all 6 parts in 1 hour and be done. And that was great. And they pretty much covered particular parts of the movie, and I found it interesting how they made crowds look bigger. That was where they used special effects, where you wouldn't even see special effects. There's only one fully CG scene in the entire movie, and it was because it was something they thought of afterwards. It's a very short scene about helicopters lifting cars off the ground, but it was interesting that that was the only scene they created from scratch because everything else was done mostly real and in camera and just embellished a little bit. The movie is an uncomfortable movie to watch because it brings out what would happen in a civil war. Your neighbors are going to fight you. There's a scene where they get into a town. They think the town is somehow spared from this. And then when they're leaving the town, they see a bunch of people on the roofs with rifles. There's some uncomfortable scenes in this movie that should be seen, especially now. When they were making this movie, things were not as bad in this country as they are now. You can literally watch this movie and say, we're a hair's breadth from this movie actually happening. But again, that's not what the movie is about. That is the background that carries the basis of the story of these 4 people. And their stories are fascinating, and how things wrap up for them and all that. I was very impressed with the film. It was one of my favorite films that I've watched recently. Not everybody's favorite, because again, people are looking for, I don't know, what's the political answer in this film? That's not the deal. The deal is about the 4 journalists and their ride through this hellscape of America. There is one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in a film where they're driving through fire and embers and things like that. Watch it in 4K for that. The HDR was incredible. It is a reference quality surround sound system, gunfire, explosions, everything you want in a 4K disc is in this movie. Movie's not going to make everybody happy because there's a lot of slow scenes too. And like I said, there's a lot of uncomfortable scenes and uncomfortable conversations that this movie should invoke. So if you want something with a little more depth and something that's going to create some great stuff to talk about later, check out Civil War. It's a 2024 film from Alex Garland. He met Ray Mendoza on this, the guy that he made with the next movie Warfare that he put out. Mendoza was an expert on the set of this film when they were doing all the military stuff. So that's how they met, and that's how Warfare got made. I'm interested to see what Alex Garland does next. He worked on scripts for the latest 28 Days Later movies and things like that. But when's he going to direct next? He kind of got out of directing to write more. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, this gets one of my highest recommendations. I thought it was a great film. Civil War, it's available now. Watch it, stream it, buy it if you're so inclined. Scott on ROCKFILE. More podcasts are on the way. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a spectacular day.